Hello, everyone. We are going to get started in just a couple minutes. We are still waiting for people to join us, so hang tight. Welcome to everyone joining us. We're going to get started in just a minute while we let some more folks in. Folks, we'll start in just one more minute. Welcome to everyone joining us. We'll get started in just another minute or two. We're waiting for everyone that wants to come in so they can hear Mugsy and Mike. Welcome to everybody coming in. We'll get started in just a minute, couple seconds. Okay, I think we'll go ahead and get started. Well, welcome. We're so glad you could join us for our program today. I'm Tanya Zanish-Belcher, Director of Special Collections at Z. Smith Reynolds Library at Wake Forest University. Over this past year, we've been hosting multiple programs on the history of sports at Wake, and we have a very special treat for you today. We are partnering with Wake Forest Athletics, the Bogues Group, Bookmarks NC, and Triumph Books to host a conversation with Mugsy. Mike Muse, Director of Wake Forest Basketball Operations, will lead us in conversation as he talks with Muggsy Bogues, Wake Forest legend. Mugsy will share about his journey from a kid in the projects to the shortest player in the NBA as part of his upcoming memoir release, Mugsy, My Life from a Kid in the Projects to the Godfather of Small Ball. Our technical director for today, Rebecca Peterson-May, also our public services archivist, will share a link for ordering Muggsy's book from Bookmarks. Please note the books will arrive after the publication date of April 12th. A final few housekeeping items before we get started. Today's program is coming to you via Zoom webinar, so while you are able to see the speakers, they are not able to see you. However, once Mike and Muggsy's conversation is over, you are welcome to submit questions via the chat or the Q&A boxes, and Mike will read them for Mugsy so he can respond. This presentation is also being recorded and will be added to our YouTube channel so it can be viewed after the event is over. Finally, if you would like to be added to the special collections list for future programs, Rebecca will be sharing a link for joining us for future updates. Our talks are wide-ranging, including sports, of course, but also other stories about Wake Forest history and our collections. And if you visit Winston-Salem, you are always welcome to visit us too. And now some quick introductions for our speakers. Tyrone Curtis Muggsy Bogues is the shortest player ever to play in the National Basketball Association. The 5'3" Bogues played point guard for 4 teams during his 14-season career in the NBA. Although best known for his 10 season with the Charlotte Hornets, he also played for the Washington Bullets, the Golden State Warriors, and Toronto Raptors. A native of Baltimore, Maryland, and a graduate of Wake Forest University, Bogues was inducted to Wake's Sports Hall of Fame in 2001 and remains Wake's all-time leader in both steals and assists. He currently serves as the president of the Muggsy Bogues Family Foundation, which helps at-risk youth and families beat the odds stacked against them. Mike Muse returned to Wake Forest in October of 2019 as the Deacon Club's Director of Basketball Development. Muse works under the supervision of the development staff and in close coordination with both the men and women's basketball staffs to create an atmosphere of engagement and development among former basketball players. Muse was director of basketball operations and an assistant coach under Skip Prosser and Dino Gaudio, respectively. A native of Winston-Salem, Muse graduated from Appalachian State in 1985 with a degree in physical education and health. He earned his master's in school administration from Appalachian State in 1999. Whoops, don't want to lose that 9. Take it away, Mike and Mugsy.
Thank you so much, Tanya, and we're so glad to be here again. Welcome to today's event, pre-launch event in honor of Muggsy's My Life from a Kid and the projects to the Godfather of Small Ball. And I'm so pleased to welcome today the iconic Muggsy Bogues. Welcome, Muggsy.
Oh, Mike, thank you guys for that wonderful introduction, and appreciate you guys hosting me today. I'm looking forward to our discussion.
Well, Muggsy, I think we'll just go on a tour of your journey. We'll start back in Baltimore. I know you grew up in Lafayette Projects in Baltimore, Maryland. Kind of explain what that was like and how you got your start, who you looked up to, and kind of who pushed you at an early age to get you on this journey.
Well, you know, early on as a kid growing up in the inner city of Baltimore, of course, it was very challenging. You know, as a kid trying to pursue the game of basketball, especially at my size. You know, the challenge, not so much this, there's a lot of challenge on the court as well as just being outdoors. I mean, early on, I got shot when I was 5 years old, being at the wrong place at the wrong time. But I think from that moment, after I recovered in terms of wanting to go out there and pursue the game of basketball again, I think it kind of changed more so in terms of me not caring about what people thought about how small I was and being laughed upon so much being out there. I just let the words and the jokes just come in one ear and out the other. And I just kept pursuing the game because I loved it so much. It was a hobby at the time. Didn't even know what passion was. I just know I enjoyed it and I loved playing it. Didn't know it came with so much criticism. But as I got good at it and as I start to really, you know, believe in my skill set, my talent, you know, I wanted to play it at the highest level just like anyone else. And of course, it was the laughter. No one really, you know, wanted to give a kid my size a chance because of my height. But again, I just kept pushing myself through that.
Muggsy, I've kept up with you a little bit. I know that there's an influential man back in Baltimore by the name of Leon Howard that was influential in getting you your start. He kind of coached you and the kids in the neighborhood. Kind of tell us what Leon meant to you.
Well, Mr. Howard was everything to us. I mean, here it is. We was some snotty-nosed kids running around with no vision whatsoever. And here it is. He came in to this recreation center. He came into community, I should say, and really just instilled a vision in so many kids. I mean, took them under his wing, taught them this game, which called basketball, you know, which allowed us to dream and visualize to a place that we never thought that existed. I mean, he gave us not only just the toolage, but he gave us that mind and that confidence and the faith that we can make something better out of our life. And here it is. I mean, he wasn't even from there. He was a guy that was from Massachusetts, just graduated from John C. Smith University, came from Carolina and came back and took all these little adolescent kids under his wing and really changed their whole livelihoods. And we so thankful for him.
Well, not only did he give you a good foundation to grow up on, if my memory serves correct, he's also the one that gave you the nickname Muggsy. How did the nickname Muggsy come about?
Well, he didn't actually give me that nickname. He taught the young man who gave me that nickname by the name of Dwayne Woods, who happened to be small as well. And Dwayne was very influential in my career. He was very inspired. He was an inspired player for me because he was small as well. And in the neighborhood, you know, I didn't watch as much NBA basketball at the time. And then when I did watch it and saw Tiny Archibald and then looked at Tiny Archibald, he was 6'1", you know, he didn't seem so tiny to me. So, you know, Dwayne in my neighborhood became that guy for me, and studying him, looking how he pursued the game, how he was impacting the game at his height. He was very pesky out there. And I just started to follow my pattern behind him. And then I just started being aggressive and me stealing the ball a lot. And at the same time, there was a show came on every Saturday called The Bowery Boys. And one of the characters' name was Mugsy. and he was kind of the little leader of the gang. He was the smallest of the crew as well. So Dwayne Wood, he kind of tied my way I played basketball and that character. And Mugsy, at first, I was like I said, I was 7, 8 years old. And I used to go by the name of Apple because I had a shiny head, I always had a close haircut, and it always shined a lot. They used to call me Apple. So but when I first was called Mugsy, I didn't like it because I thought they was talking about my mug and everything. But it kind of grew on me because the aggressive style of play I had on the basketball court, stealing the ball a lot. Mugsy just fit and it stuck with me ever since I was 7, 8 years old.
Well, Mugsy, from your childhood days, you go to high school, you enter the 9th grade, you go to Dunbar High where you meet Coach Bob Wade, and you got a couple of guys on your team there, Reggie Williams, Reggie Lewis, and David Wingate. Some people say one of the best high school basketball teams ever assembled. You go undefeated your junior and senior year. What did Coach Wade and those your teammates mean to you there at Dunbar, and how did that propel your career to get here to Wake Forest?
Oh, that was the beginning. That was the beginning on the national stage, I should say, because playing with so many talented players you just alluded to, the late Reggie Lewis, David Wingate, Reggie Williams, and we had guys who wasn't even, people don't even remember that it's not a national name, but guys who all got scholarships to go to Division I schools, to schools like Syracuse, Miami University, South Carolina. We had a lot of prominent players. So that was the beginning for me. And I always felt like, and how to get myself recruited was, I knew a lot of the recruits was coming to see those guys. So, and practice was very huge in back in our day. And when they came to saw those guys, I wanted to make sure when they come to see them, they made sure they talked about me as they go out. And that was a really sticking point of me getting myself recruited. Being able to, play against the best players out there because of my size and people believing that a guy my size could play. And winning 59 games didn't hurt it as well. We went undefeated my 2 years there. Being able to travel around the world and play some of the best teams in the country. It also brought a lot of attention and started to put a lot of coaches at notice and say, maybe so. This kid can play on this level. And I'm so thankful that Wake Forest was one of those teams because they came knocking at my door and it changed my life ever since.
Well, Mugsy, was there a time there in your childhood or maybe at Dunbar that just sticks out to you that you really finally realized that, hey, I can do this and I'm going to be in control of my own destiny? And what kind of was the spark behind that for you?
Well, for me, each level has been that way. I always had confidence in myself, and people, outsiders, didn't have the understanding of what I was trying to accomplish, the barriers I was trying to break down, just to let people know that a guy my side is capable of playing on any level and being impactful, not just as a guy that came off the bench, but a guy who can run the team and be that starter point guard that's out there. And in high school, each game became that. And we had one of our biggest game was against Camden, New Jersey, and playing against the Kevin Walls, Billy Thompson, guys that were being recruited from Louisville University, one of the top universities out there at the time, which it still is today. And, and they was the #1 team in the country. And I think after we went up there and performed, and I was able to have a great game and get a standing ovation afterwards, even though after they, he laughed at me to begin the game, pointing out to my head like it was going to be an easy day. But, after, with that being said, having a good game and putting people on notice that a kid my size are really can possibly play on that next level, which was college. That was really a big turning point for me because you keep playing against the best. And I always felt like if I played against the best and had success against the best, I must be included with the best. And having that mentality and that mindset allowed me to keep climbing the ladders.
Well, Mugsy, part of the college game is the recruitment of high school players. You end up down here in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, Wake Forest University. There you have Georgetown in your backyard with Big John Thompson. You've got Maryland. I think Gary Williams was there. And then I know Seton Hall, I think they were in on the picture with PJ Carlissimo. How did you end up at Wake Forest? What was the draw? What was the pull to get you to come down south?
Well, Maryland, which was right in my backyard, Coach Lefty Driesell was the coach at the time. He was there, and I think Maryland was out the picture because of one of the incidents that happened with one of our former players. Coach Wade just felt like, and I don't need to mention names, felt like that Coach Driesell didn't give him a fair shake. And so we kind of took our eyes away from Maryland. Georgetown, Coach Thomas said he wanted me, but behind closed doors, he didn't really, was trying to recruit me because he had Michael Jackson at the time. And Seton Hall, PJ was coming at me pretty heavy. And it really came down between Seton Hall and Wake Forest, even though Virginia was also involved in my recruiting process, but they wanted to redshirt me. But when I took my visit to Wake Forest, I felt like, Wake was in one of the toughest conference that you ever could play in, and playing with some of the greatest players that come through that conference. And also the academic portion was a big dynamic decision for me. If things didn't work out for me on the court, I figured having something to fall back education wise, I'll be able to, be successful as well. And then another pillar, sticking point was, you could turn on the TV every Saturday morning. And my mom, who couldn't afford to keep traveling down to Wake Forest and Winston, and my dad was in prison at the time, they could see that baby boy play every weekend and get to cheer him on, from afar. So those were some elements that made my decision. And of course, the players, when I visit, the Delaney Ruggs, the Kenny Greens, the John Thompson, Anthony Tichy, Danny Young, those guys was such such good players at that time. I felt like, this is something I could benefit from.
Well, Muggsy, you arrive at Wake. You take our team, 1984 team, on an Elite Eight run. You lead the ACC in steals and assists as a sophomore and as a junior. You finished with 781 assists, 275 steals, and to this day, both of those still hold as school records. You also hold the ACC record for 17 assists in the game at some blue school down there in Chapel Hill that you dished out 17 dimes in a game, so that was unbelievable. You end up with a Wake Forest Hall of Fame. You get your jersey retired, one of those 11 that are hanging from the rafters. You're going into the North Carolina Sports Hall of Fame in April. You were a 1986 FIBA gold medal winner. I would say your career here at Wake Forest had a lot of memories for you. Which one of those kind of stands out the most to you?
Well, it's no one particular that stands out because my experience at Wake Forest was second to none. I mean, that was a young kid at the age of 18 years old, coming in, trying to find a way in terms of what life was all about on and off the court. I had some wonderful people that took me under their wing, the Roger Murray's, the H.V. Nelson, Becky Nelson, and of the world. Those were people that really understood why I was there and my purpose. And my entire 4 years has been such a treat. So no one moment, the accolades that I was able to accomplish never overshadowed the people that I was able to meet there. My professors, Professor Marquardt, Dr. Loudon, Dr. Bryant. I mean, I can go on and on about some of the people that really was influential in my upbringings coming through there. Meeting Miss, Maya Angelou, may she rest in peace, being, a professor on campus. So having all these, Dr. the Hopkins and so forth. I mean, I have so many memories and people that really touched my life. So all the other stuff on the court, that was a bonus for me. That was something that I had control of. And but having control of all the people that came into my life, I didn't have control of that.
Well, Muggsy, you left, you went to the NBA, but you came back and you finished your degree. Mm-hmm. Coming back, finishing that degree, what did that mean to you to have that degree from Wake Forest?
Oh, that was important. That was something that I made a promise to my moms. Regardless of whatever the situation, if things worked out for me basketball wise, if I wasn't finished, when those 4 years was up, I had a promise that I'll go back and make sure that I fulfill that obligation. And fortunate enough for me, I was able to do so. I was going through a difficult time in my life at the time, but it gave me that time frame to really go back and prepare myself. I had 92 hours left. I actually went back on campus and sat in the classrooms and with all the students. And believe it or not, it was a different mindset back when I went back. Felt like I was more engaged in
Right.
terms of when I went back. Probably because I know it was for me, even though the first time I was there was for me, but I was probably distracted with the other portion that I was chasing in terms of that dream of on the basketball court. But it was a treat. I mean, it was an eye opener. It was good knowing that I started something, but I was able to finish at the same time, and got my degree, which I continue to preach to my kids, so I couldn't become a hypocrite and telling them they need to get their education here, that I wasn't, done with mine. So I was able to accomplish that goal and no longer, became a hypocrite in terms of telling my kids what they needed to do and make sure they fulfill their obligations as well. So I was so grateful and happy that I was able to go back and finish.
Well, while you came back and finished, I believe there's another Bogues that kind of came through here. Brittany Boggs got her degree here. You got that family legacy of Demon Deacons going on. What does it mean to you to see her love and passion for Wake Forest and to know that she followed in your footsteps and came here?
Oh, it was awesome. I had to twist her arm a little bit. She, at first she was hollering about Duke, Duke, Duke. And, I'm like, what are you talking, Duke? You wanted to go on a visit? I couldn't take you on a visit to Duke. If you're going to visit Duke, you're going on your own. So when she came and took her first visit to Wake Forest, I mean, it was just a match made in heaven. She fell in love with the campus, fell in love with everything that it had to offer. And she did it in 4 years, unlike her dad. And I'm grateful she did, because it cost me a lot more as opposed to when I was going. But she was able to fulfill her dreams, graduated from Wake Forest, and I'm so happy and thrilled for her now. She's running her own business and doing her thing out here in the corporate world. So I'm so pleased that I at least have one child that's has a little black and gold blood running through their veins.
Well, that's awesome. You kind of set the tone for Wake Forest point guards. There for a while, we were known as Point Guard U. You and Chris Paul, Ish Smith, Jeff Teague, you kind of had us rolling there for a while. Those other guys looked up to you. I know you and Ish shared some time together in Charlotte. You're pretty close. Kind of share what it's like to be with Ish, who's now in the NBA, and your relationship with Chris and Jeff. Maybe what has it been like for you to be around those guys?
Oh, it's awesome. I mean, all Demon Deacon fraternity brothers are special to one another. I mean, it's not just the guards. It's from the Tim Duncans and and on down from the Rodney Rogers, and so forth. So Josh Howard, and it goes far before us. That's the history of the game. The Skip Browns of the world that came before Dick Hemrick. Rod Griffin. Keep going. Alvis Rogers, Delaney Rudd, and even the guys that's hanging up on the rafters, Charlie Davis, and so forth. So we got so many guys that paved the way for us. And it was just my duty to do the same, to pass that forward, and spend time with Ish and CP and those guys and Jeff Teague, and before they even got into the league, going back and giving them the understanding what it takes to get to that next level. Then once you get there, how to continue to conduct yourself and be that type of player and have that longevity for yourself. And these guys have done it with the best of them. And, not only are they good basketball players, but they're good individuals. And that's what I love about them. Wake has developed some great characters, young men, in terms of what they instilled in them as far as principle-wise. We all get it from our parents, but we also get that guidance and that understanding of the fraternities that we, our alma maters that we come from, and the importance of it. So I'm just happy to be part of their lives and honored that they continue to, put Wake Forest on a national level in a bright way, and continue to, represent our school the way it should be.
Well, Muggsy, you got a chance to come home this past weekend. You get to do so every once in a while around your busy schedule, but you got to see Alondis Williams and Jake LaRavia play a little bit, the future of the team and how our team's doing so well this year. Well, you got the standing ovation from the crowd. What did it feel like to get that love back from walking into the building and feel the Deke Nation show the love to you?
It's always good coming back home. I mean, it's always good to have those arms still wrapped around you and show you that type of affection and that hospitality. And that's what this Southern hospitality is all about. They never forget and they continue to support even when you far away. But I'm so thankful and grateful to have that opportunity and watching the young guys you just mentioned, Williams and Jake. Those guys has been having a great season, and that's one of the reasons why Wake is doing so well. They are up to this point. 20 wins, as we've said. We haven't had those many wins in quite some time. So seeing those guys to put Wake on their shoulders night in and night out, to represent on and off the court, show that type of leadership. I mean, it goes a long ways, and that's what Wake Forest basketball tradition is all about. So as long as they continue to showcase and display their talent and represent the Wake Forest in those regards, we're gonna got a bright future ahead of us.
Well, Muggsy, you leave Wake Forest, you get drafted number 12 overall in the NBA to the Washington Bullets. You stay there a couple of years, and then you head to Charlotte Hornets, where you were a part of the rise and the hive was hopping. What was it like to be there with Alonzo Mourning, Larry Johnson, Kendall Gill, Dale Curry were some of your teammates, and for a long time, you guys were the brand of the Charlotte Hornets. What was that like with those guys to play?
Well, it was awesome. Being able to get drafted, as you mentioned, it started in Washington. That's where it started. That's when the weight of the world was lifted off my shoulders. Being able to get drafted right in your backyard, where it all started, playing with the likes of the late Moses Malone, my friend Manute Bo, may he rest in peace. These guys, Darrell Walker, the Bernard Kings of the world. I mean, these guys took me on the wing. They taught me what NBA basketball was all about, and having that experience and playing under those type of conditions prepared me to come to to come to Charlotte and be part of something that all of a sudden became something very special. Because you're going to an expansion team, you don't know what to expect. A bunch of guys just come from a team that didn't want you anymore. And we had to all make it work. It was a mixture of players, young players, myself, Del Curry, the Rex Chapman. We was a young bunch of the crew. And then the veterans with Kelly Trapukas and Kirk Rambis and Earl Curtis and the Ricky Greens of the world. So it was a means of trying to make it work and make it fit. And then all of a sudden we start to get the draft picks and the Larry Johnson, the Alonzo Mourning, the Kendall Gills, and of course my Del Curry and myself are still here. So that became something very special. The city, the town was always excited, from the day one we came in, but all of a sudden now we putting this type of product on the floor, and they became so excited and electrifying night in and night out, and playing with those type of players, Hall of Fame players now we can speak of today. It was very thrilling, encouraging, knowing that you was leading these type of men in terms of getting them to buy into one common goal, put their egos aside. And when you have that type of understanding, that type of bond with one another, I mean, it's just always something special. So it was great times, and something that you'll never forget.
I know leadership and professionalism have always been a thing of yours. And what was it like to be the floor general, the giant among giants, to get those guys to play as one? Because you seem to do that at a high rate and a high clip. How did you get that done?
Well, as a point guard, that was just my understanding, being that extension of a coach and just being that leader. For one, as a leader, I always say those four pillars are very important in terms of four elements that comes into play, being empathetic to them, and being accountable, and having vision, and being gratified, and having gratitude. When you have that understanding, where a person, being where they come from, you get to know them and understand them, and then you being accountable and making them accountable, and leading the way, and making sure yourself accountable as well. and then giving them vision. You know, everybody must have some sort of vision, want to know where you're leading to. And then at the same time, having gratitude and being grateful for all that you've gone through. And when they understand all that and having that type of understanding, you know, you can get anybody to follow you. And, you know, and being able to have that type of gift to lead those men, I mean, that was something that I really relish, you know, because it was something that I was put in that position. And as I just alluded, I'm the extension of their coach, and 85, 95% of the time, the ball is in my hand. So you want to be, you know, that guy that and be looked upon as someone respectful, knowing that you're leading these guys in the right direction.
Well, not only did you have the respect of your teammates, but I've listened to and read a lot of podcasts, listened to a lot of podcasts, read a lot of books. I've heard Michael Jordan, Larry Bird, Magic, Kareem all say that one of the toughest players that they hated to play against was 5'3" Muggsy Bogues. What do you think it was about your game that earned the respect not only of your teammates, but also the respect of your peers?
Well, one, they're gonna have to earn everything they get, you know, because of your height. It doesn't matter in terms of, it's all about the impact and how you pursue and how you play the game. And for me, as a point guard, it starts right there. You got to be able to get the ball across half court and get your team into the offense. If you're having difficult of doing that, then that taking time out on how the offense going to flow, and is also putting, you know, everybody in a position where they're not comfortable. So having that understanding as a point guard for me on the defensive end allowed me to continue to be out there on the floor and be that pest, as one would say, because people love space. They love that cushion, and I didn't love giving anybody any space.
You were always up in them, weren't you, Muggs?
I had to.
Had to. Well, you mentioned 5'3" and being up in their space. You know, a lot of people talk about 5'3" being a disadvantage. Maybe from your perspective, how was 5'3" an advantage in a lot of ways for you?
Well, you know, people look at height or weight, speed, some sort of deficiency they want to label on you, and make it that type of advantage or disadvantage. And the way I looked at it was that I was 5'3", and the advantage that I had to be was more or less you're close to the basketball. So if you're close to the basketball, then try to affect the basketball as much as you possibly can, because that's where it all starts. And having an understanding how to stay low, how to challenge one's dribble, how to make one think about you all the time, you know, all that plays until, you know, a man's psyche, and making them thinking about other things of what they want to think about in terms of being successful on the court. So all of it allowed me to be on the floor. And I understood that on the defense aspect of it. And that's one of the reasons why I try to tell smaller guys that, you know, we got to change the game and impact it in a way where the big guys don't have to do it. I mean, they do it with their length, and the other way, we got to do it in a way where it's still impactful and still gets across in the same similar way.
Well, let's move on from basketball a little bit. That kind of hits all your basketball career. Muggsy Bogues, the actor, Space Jams, Saturday Night Live. There's some other cameo appearances out there. What about your acting career, and how did you get the call to get into the original Space Jams?
I mean, here it is, a small kid from the snide little kid from the projects, now on the screens of cameras. I mean, I would never imagine. When I got the call for Space Jam was, we all had the same agent, myself, Michael Jordan, Patrick Ewing, David Falk was our agent, and Warner Brothers, I guess, was working with them. And I had no clue what was going on. And when they called and told me to come and read, I just had surgery on my knee. We just lost to Chicago in a playoff, and I had surgery. And so they say, just come on out and read your lines anyway. Well, I went out there and read my lines, and because they was gonna have Tim Hardaway fill in for me. But I guess they liked what I was doing, and they created a way to where it may look like I was walking, where they had me pulled on a little dolly when we was walking, going through the hospital. So they was very creative and allowed me to be part of the movie. I'm so thankful and grateful, because we had so much fun on set. I mean, it was so much fun. I can never imagine the time we, you know, the much fun we had on that set. And here it is, knowing it's one of iconic movie, one of the movies that people still, relates to. It was amazing. So had a great time doing that. Saturday Night Live and, you know, Charles Barkley and I and Curb Your Enthusiasm working with Larry David and those guys. It's been a blessing. I don't know how I got so lucky and blessed to be able to get those calls, but I am grateful.
Well, good. You did a great job. It's one of the all-time favorites. Space Jam's 1, and we'll go from there. Hey, so Muggs, you've started a Muggsy Bogues Family Foundation. Your daughter's involved, your son's involved, the whole family kind of runs that. Can you kind of explain about how that got started through all your ventures that you've done, and why that's important to you and your family, and who you look to take care of?
Just to give back. I mean, it's always for me was told that once you get in position, give back. Make someone else's life a little more easier. And for us, we trying to make these kids' lives a lot easier. Some of these families' lives a lot easier, and by giving them the resources that we trying to provide to them. We catering to the trade ambitions, skillful kids to go to. We partner with CPC here in Charlotte as a trade school. We giving kids. We awarded 4 scholarships last year. This year we're trying to give out 8, $2,500 per kid, so they don't have to have the burden of worrying about their books or any materials they need to worry about. And those are the things that we're doing. And we have 3 also labor love events where we feed the community. We was fortunate enough to reach over 300 families this year, 1,000 family members with the help of Healthy Blue of North Carolina, CPI, Lowe's, Food Line, all these wonderful organizations that really extend their support to us behind the scenes, like guys like Mr. George Shen and Michael Kahn from the Checkers. So I'm just so thankful for the support that we able to, give these families and these kids and make their lives a lot healthier as well as happier in terms of moving forward.
And you still do your golf tournament. I believe this year it's going to be in September. And last year, I think you raised $60,000 to $70,000 to help with your foundation. Anything you want to say about your golf tournament?
Yeah, we have another. That's one of our main fundraisers. Our golf event is this year. We're going to have it at Longview Golf Course. That's what last year we had it at Piper Glen. This year we're gonna have it at Longview Golf Course, September the 26th. We're gonna, of course, all my friends, my celebrity guys come and take part to join us to help with the cause. I'm just so grateful that we're able to gather with one another again. With all the consider with the pandemic that's been going on with a lot of the last past 2 years. So hopefully, I'm grateful that we all can now, relax, not so much relax, but be careful as well, but come out there and galvanize with one another to have a great time for a good cause.
Well, Muggsy, let's talk a little bit about your memoir. I think you'd previously released an autobiography. So why the memoir and why now?
Well, actually, this is the second one. My first book we did was In the Land of Giants, and that was in 1994. And then when they came to me, and it was more or less dedicated to my father. My father just passed away, and it was more or less, things that I've accomplished up until that point, making it to the NBA from my high school, from my college, and then going on being drafted from the Washington Bullets. This one is a little more substance in this book. I got a lot more people talking how I impact their lives, so forth. The guys like the Stephen Curry, Alonzo Mourning, great leaders in this world today, saying how influenced I was in their life growing up. Some of the stories that we have, my life in the project as well, the times and all the things I had to overcome, as well as being able to, rekindle and remarry my wife. I mean, having an opportunity to get back together, even after we were separated. We were divorced for 10, 11 plus years, finding our way back to one another, which is very rare. But it's a lot of things that, I just want to put back out there, especially for the kids as well, to give them an understand that anything is possible in terms of what you dream of. Only, as long as you continue to believe in yourself and have that understand that you are totally in control. So I wanted to kind of share this moment with my fans today. It's been quite some time since that In the Land of Giants was out. So this is the opportunity for me to kind of give these fans a little more insight of what I've gone through over my years.
Well, Muggsy, we got a couple questions out of the chat before we wrap up. One of them says, please ask Mugsy to talk about why having Black alumni such as Dr. Larry Hopkins was important to him when he was a student at Wake Forest.
Say that question again, I'm sorry.
Why was it important for you to have Black alumni such as Dr. Larry Hopkins important to you during your journey and career here at Wake Forest?
It is always important to have someone that's paved the way before you. And Dr. Hopkins and his wife, Beth Hopkins, was prime examples of how they overcome so much adversity to be at Wake Forest, to be there as an African-American student, pursuing their dreams, where they came from. So that was a prime example for me to look into someone who's been successful through all the adversity that they have to overcome from an institution what we was very, banned from. So having, Larry, display who he was, him and Beth, I'm so grateful.
Well, Muggsy, another question comes from Steve. He talks about the iconic photo between you and Manute Bol. You being the shortest, Manute being the tallest, two opposite ends of the NBA height. How would you describe your relationship with him?
Awesome. It was amazing. We were so close. We was the best of friends, and I miss him dearly. I mean, I miss him so much. Our time in Washington was short-lived, but the time we spent with one another, I mean, we took totally advantage of it. I recall always before the NBA now have teams have private planes. Back then we used to fly commercial. Everybody used to fly commercial. And we only had 8 first-class seats, and they went by seniorities. And Manute and I was the youngest, so we always had to go sit in the back. And can you imagine he and I in the back of the airplane? The seats are not comfortable for him, so his knees are all up to his chest. And he back there telling me how he used to kill lions with a spear. And and I used to always joke on him about what kind of lions you guys used to have back in your country, ones with no teeth in your mouth. You talking about you kill them with a spear. So we had a lot of fun just joking about all those types of situations.
Oh, good. Well, Muggsy, there's new rules and regulations around college athletics now. What are your thoughts on the NIL and the players' way to brand themselves now to supplement what they do?
At first I had a different opinion, but my opinion now is more or less, I'm happy that the NCAA came to this conclusion, because the athletes that they are so stressed and strained during the course of their season. And it's very difficult, even when it's off season, for them to even pursue a job, to try to, have a little money just to wash your clothes, to go get any type of necessities that you need. I recall growing in my times in Wake Forest, we couldn't get a job, you couldn't work. And seemed like the NCAA, a lot of these facilities, these companies, these organizations are making a lot of money off of these athletes, off their branding with these gamings and all the things that's taking place now. You got social media that's really took to another height. So you got different forms of where these kids can really make a life for themselves, where it don't have to be illegal. I mean, so for them to come to this conclusion to where they can now brand themselves and have a means of making a life for themselves, because everybody's not going to be a professional athlete going forward.
Well, Dr. Janice Collins, who played women's basketball while you were here, says she's really proud of you. It's great to see you. And besides basketball, she wants to know if you ever got into any other hobbies that you enjoy, fishing, or are you still holding camps? And she said, thank you for all you do and stay blessed.
Thank you so much for that. Yes, I'm still holding the camps. It's 30 plus years. Got to keep inspiring these kids to be the best they can be, regardless of what route they go. We more or less have an inspirational camp in the summer for ages 6 to 14, and we want to make sure they understand the importance of who they are as they navigate their self through life. And my hobby now is golf. I wish I would have listened to my friend back when we was in school, Billy Andres, get me go down there and play some golf with him down at the campus there. But I'm swinging at it. I'm having a lot of fun with it. The ball is going wherever it's gonna go. But if you got some tips or you got some ways that I can find my way to Winston-Salem to get some consistent practice, I'm down for it.
We might be able to make that happen, Muggsy. Hey, Muggs, Rob Pitkin wants to know about 2 games that you played in. First game against Spud Webb, and then the game in Maryland in the old Winston-Salem Coliseum against Lenny Bias.
Oh, my friend Spudnik. I mean, that was a big game for me. It was a national televised game. Actually, Al McGuire was calling the game that day. Now I had 20 points that day, 10 assists. We beat NC State that night, and it was a very, surreal moment for me because Spud and I was talked about being the smallest, and here it is. This is my first time ever seeing him and getting the opportunity to play against him and seeing how high he jumped and so forth. I was always, excited about the way he sprung off the floor so easily and effortlessly. But it was he and I became really, really good friends over the years. But that was my first memory of meeting Spud. Had a really good game, and then the time against Lenny Bias, Coach played a boxing 1 on him. So they had me playing Lenny, and I remember Coach came to me just before the game. How you feel about playing Lenny? I'm like, Lenny Bias? He said, yeah, we're gonna play boxing 1 on him the whole game. I said, okay, well, that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna do, Coach. And he was averaging like 28. But he only got 16 that night, so I held him under his average. But they wound up winning the game. And but it was a great moment playing against Lenny. He was one of the greatest players that ever played this game.
Muggs, Chris Hudson wants to know if you've got any desire to be a coach, either in the NBA or the college levels.
Well, I did that. I did the coaching. I used to coach the WNBA with the females, and I really enjoyed that. I was coaching high school. I really enjoyed that. I just love teaching. College level, at this stage of my career, I don't know. I don't think I got the mustard to sit over there and go through all those practices now. So I'm leaving that up to Coach Forbes and his crew. Let them keep doing their job. But I'm gonna sit over here and watch from afar and keep in mind and keep inspiring and giving tips as much as I can.
Well, Muggsy, you got a couple of Toronto Raptor fans on here. One is Anna Olinwa. And she says to tell you hello and that you're much loved up there and wanted to know how it felt to see the Raptors win a championship.
Oh, tell her hello. Toronto is another one of my lovely places to visit. It's still like home to me up there. I still visit that place to this day. It felt amazing, and I was so grateful and so thrilled when they won the championship. I got to tell the team as well as Masai and them how proud I was. Mr. Tannenbaum, him and his lovely wife, they do an amazing job with the organization, and they run a first-class organization with the players. So I'm so happy and thrilled for that organization, for the town, for the city, for the entire country, I may say, because again, it was well-deserved. The guys put their heart and soul in terms of bringing that thing to a fruition.
One more, Muggsy, and then we'll talk about the book and we'll let you go. You know how the barbershop talk is and how the locker room talk is. Will there ever be another Muggsy Bogues?
I hope so. I really hope so. I'm praying in my lifetime that I can see a guy my size or right there near it to be able to accomplish his dreams, to fulfill it to the fullest. Is walking around here with that same mindset, knowing that no one's believing, no one's giving them an opportunity. but it's been done. It's been done more than once. Different versions of it. Myself, Spud Webb, Michael Adams, Nate Robertson. You got little Greg Grant. So, but we all totally was different. We all had a different way of impacting the game. But for me, the way I played it as one of them true point guards, where I was able to control, my destiny as a starter, on and off. So I like to see one, just to cut that answer short. I would love to see one in my lifetime.
I would too. Hey, Muggsy, we're glad that you were here today. We want to wish you the best on your sales of your memoir, Mugsy, My Life from a Kid in the Projects to Godfather of Small Ball. The link is in the chat room for those of you who want to order it early. Mugsy, we're proud of you for being a Demon Deacon, for what you've done on the floor, but more importantly, how you represent Wake Forest and what you've done with your life in taking care of people off the floor. We couldn't be happier for you. We couldn't be prouder that you are one of ours, and we're proud to call you a Wake Forest Demon Deacons. God bless you. Thank you all for tuning in, and go Deeks.
Go Deeks. Thank you, Mike, for that wonderful, wonderful comments you just made. I really appreciate you guys, and thank you for everybody for tuning in. Again, go get the memoir when it comes out, pre-order it, and stay blessed.
Thank you.